Hello, folks. I'm Jeffrey Darty, the Christian Whistleblower. Just let me make sure my volume is turned up sufficiently for you. I think we're in good shape. So nice to be back with you. We are going to do a heavy Bible-focused teaching again today, and it just gets more and more amazing. I've been doing this now for 35 years, which is mind-blowing in itself. 35 years now of intense biblical study, full time. People want to take me to task. How could you have over 100,000 hours? Well, just do the math. But over 100,000 hours of biblical study, 20 of those years in hardcore human religion, Protestant matrix, Stockholm syndrome, fear and guilt based religion. Now, going on 15 years, almost as much now in freeform spirituality and really seeking the truth. And today we're going to talk about something which is especially liberating to me and exciting to me because it's something I've known in my meditations. It's something I've known in my studies. But when you actually see it graphically portrayed within the scriptures, it is amazing. Some people will read in some inferences from the shirt I'm wearing today. I just noticed that. But hey, that's all right. I just thought it was kind of a cute shirt. And here we go. We're going to talk today about Behold the Twin. And here today we see the genesis of the plan that is to, if Antichrist wins, and that's why I want you to subscribe to this channel. That's why I want you to share these videos. I'd also like you to share financially, but subscribe to the channel at the very least. Share these videos at the very least, because with your help, we can, I can, you can, we can defeat the plans of Antichrist. I know that sounds audacious, but we can and will defeat the plans of Antichrist. And basically the question is, am I going to do it with you? Or am I going to have to do it with someone else? I need your help. Subscribe, share, and if you can give financially, we'd really appreciate it, because I want to be able to do this 100% full time. Right now, it's not a possibility. That's what we are working towards. So let's get into the scriptures. I want to show you what we're talking about. I want to show you exactly where we're coming from. And I've shown you over and over how to study the Bible. I want to continue to show you how to study the Bible. That's part of what we're doing. And here we are in John chapter 20. And just by way of review, I do have my notes, of course. Just by way of quick review, we know that there's the disciples, there's 11 of them. And as yet, after the resurrection even, they had never heard nor seen, we saw in the original Greek, that Yeshua must rise from the dead. They'd never heard it spoken. They'd never seen it written. And remember, these guys spent at least 3 years with Yeshua every single day. He never taught them. He never showed them that he would rise from the dead. And obviously, by implication, if he never told them that he would rise from the dead, do you think he told them that he would die and lay in the ground? Of course not. He never talked about a crucifixion or any other death, and he certainly never talked about a resurrection. And again, that brings up the question. There's 4 or 5 verses in the New Testament that clearly show Jesus teaching the apostles about the resurrection. Yet here's John in the final message of the last apostle. Remember, John wrote in the late 90s saying, hey, look, man, at that time, we'd never heard about it. We'd never seen anything about it. So you can believe who you want to believe. I will believe Yeshua, and I will believe John. I will believe the final message of the last apostle. And then we went down here to verse 24, and we saw that there was 11, 11, 11, and it was confusing us. How come there's only 11? And that probably has some spiritual significance, because there was only 11 of them that made up the body of truth. That's interesting. Just throw that in for what it's worth. But Thomas, one of the 12, was not with them. So there solves our 11 mystery. It wasn't Judas that was missing. There was no Judas deceiving, or what's it called? Judas turning on Christ, Judas rejecting Christ. There was no Judas doing any of that. If he did, it certainly wasn't anything to do with the real scriptures, because there was only 11. It wasn't Judas that was missing. It was Thomas. that was missing. And Thomas was called the twin. And folks, Thomas, one of the 12, was not with them when Jesus showed up. Thomas, one of the 12, was not with them. That's why there was 11. And Thomas wasn't there when they saw Jesus. John is trying to give you a clue. He's saying, hey, look, we never saw Thomas and Jesus together. Thomas, the twin of Yeshua, Didymus, we never saw Thomas and Jesus together. How about that? Now, I want to add something else to you here that we haven't talked about yet so far. Here's a little statement. The other disciples therefore said to him, we have seen the Lord. Okay? Now, we have seen the Lord. Are they saying that we have seen our Lord? They're saying we've seen this Jesus guy. And we know this because, remember, in Matthew 28, the greater part of the apostles, it said some of them doubted. Well, let's just show you, because I can hear the idiots right now, the crows cawing on the line. He just makes stuff up, blah, blah, blah. So let's go ahead and show you where it says that the very disciples themselves doubted. So Matthew 28, the 11 disciples went away into Galilee in the mount where Jesus had appointed them. When they saw him, they worshiped him. Some did worship him, some doubted. We showed you before, some doubted. It's the definite article. That means the greater portion of them doubted. So, shut up and listen. You idiots that want to just cause trouble. You trolls. I don't even know why I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for the people that really want to know some knowledge. Okay, so anyway, the other disciples said to Thomas, presumably, Thomas came, Jesus was gone. Jesus came and Thomas was gone. The other disciples then said to Thomas, hey, we saw Jesus. Then Thomas says, except I see in his hands the print of the nails, put my finger into the print of the nails, and thrust my hands into his side, and will not believe. So you see, this is directly referencing the supposed crucifixion that the disciples didn't believe in. That the disciples, all 11 of them, had never heard of. Let's run into this. And my question is, did John write this? Or did Polycarp write this? Did John write it as a faithful reporter of what Thomas said? Or did Polycarp write it to try to create what eventually gets created? But at any rate, Thomas was there, Jesus wasn't there. Or Thomas wasn't there, Jesus was there. Thomas was there, Jesus wasn't there. Thomas says, allegedly, unless I put my hand in the print of the nails, finger into his side, whatever, I won't believe. Okay, you ready? Sit down, put down any sharp instruments, because here we go. After 8 days again, I already saw this. After 8 days, Thomas was with them, and then came Jesus. Remember, we read this last time in the original Greek. The word then is added. So the way it really reads is, after 8 days, his disciples were there, and Thomas came as Jesus. Doors were shut. He was in the midst. And then let's look at this. Somebody wrote this to me, and they said, hey, look, what is happening? How about this? My first response was, it's just added by translators. It's just dung. But let's look at it. Then said he to Thomas, reach hither your finger. Behold my hands, reach hither thy hand, thrust it into my side, and be not faithless, but be believing. And Thomas said unto him, my Lord and my God. Wow, Jeff, seems like an open and shut case. Seems like you're wrong. That's what they want you to believe. We just saw back here in verse 26 that Thomas came as Jesus in the original literal Greek. Thomas appeared to them as Jesus. John is telling you, up here he told you, look, I've never seen Jesus and Thomas together, hint, hint, wink, wink. And then he just says Thomas came as Jesus, because that then is added by the translators. But not even are we going to leave it there. We're going to get into verse 27 in the interlinear, which is the Greek word for word. And I'm going to show you how deception works. Okay? Look right here. Then he says to Thomas. Up here you can see the original Greek. And I'm going to show you something that will blow your mind. Then he says to Thomas. Even the Greek scholars that do these translations are trying to deceive you, because look at this. When you look at Thomas, it just means Thomas. And this is called, look at this, it's the definite article. So nobody was saying anything to Thomas. Then says Thomas. Look at this. To talk, to speak, to say. Then says Thomas. Look at it in the Greek. And then thereafter, next, says, speaks, definite article, the Thomas, or the twin. Then says Thomas the twin. Then says Thomas the twin. Nobody said it to Thomas. There wasn't two dudes there. If I was still Pentecostal, I'd speak in tongues right now and run a lap around the building. Then says Thomas, bring your finger and see the hands of me. Bring your hands, put it into my side, and stop being unbelieving, but start believing. O.M. Jizzle. Then says Thomas in the original Greek, bring your fingers, bring your hands, look at my scarred hands, look at my pierced side. Stop unbelieving, but be believing. Who's he talking to? Wake up, ding, ding, ding. Wakey, wakey, eggs and bakey, the alarm is going off. Stop unbelieving, but start believing. He's talking to the greater part of the apostles that did not believe him. My brother, my sister, what you gonna do now that the truth of the scriptures is breaking out all over you? That's the Greek. It's just as plain as it can be. Then Thomas said, bring your finger, bring your hands, look at my side, look at my nail scarred hands. Whose hands were nail scarred? Thomas the twin. Whose side was pierced? Thomas, twin. Holy crap, Batman. John 20:28. But here, Jeff, it's obviously two of them, because Jesus tells Thomas, I'm your Lord and your God. Oh, really? You really want to stay with that? You really think I came on the air to get caught up like that? How about a little walk through the Greek? Then in answer, Thomas said, Thomas spoke, you ready for this? To them, to them, to them. I think I'm crazy, but I am just enjoying the hell out of this today. Then answered Thomas the twin and said to them, I know that these dirty, rotten, rat bastard, lying pieces of crap scholars that wrote this say to him, I show you the Greek, and it says, they, them. They, them. Answered Thomas to them and said, Lord, I, not the Lord of me, as this shows in deceptive ways, the Lord I am, the God I am. OMG. Thomas answered and said to them, I am the Lord, I am the God. Thomas said to them, look at my nail-scarred hands, look at my pierced side. I am the Lord, I am the God. That is what Thomas said to the apostles. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? I feel like Hulk Hogan. Should I tear off this shirt? It's almost Hulk Hogan color. What you gonna do? Now that the truth of the scriptures has broken out all over you, behold the twin, behold the lie. All I did to you is read from the literal Greek. Who are you going to make fun of now? Who are you going to call names now? What you gonna say now? What you gonna do? Now that the truth of the gospel has broken out all over you. Used to call me the gospel gunner. I kind of feel a little bit like that again today. We know the truth. It's up to you. Is the truth going to set you free? Mark Twain said it's much easier to convince someone, or much easier to fool someone than to convince them that they've been fooled. You've been fooled. The only question is, are you man enough? Are you woman enough to wake up and say, hey, man, I've been fooled, but you know what? I will be fooled no more. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, your Christian whistleblower. It's up to you. I'm giving you everything you need. Indoctrinate yourself.